The Arlington Tiered System of Support, or ATSS, is really a framework that we're putting in place in Arlington to really systematize our practices across all of the schools. And it helps us to find a way to encourage the same research-based, evidence-based best practices in every school, every grade level, for every kid. Ensure that all students get exactly what they need, a really high-quality education.
With the ATSS program, it took a lot of years of research before we implemented this. We also had teams of teachers in prior years of implementing it, kind of thinking of the logistics and how we were going to do it and what was the best way, and looking at the research and letting the teachers know what was coming in the future years. So that was a good benefit to have, because then we were prepared and we knew what kind of outcomes to expect when we did implement it.
So the Arlington Tiered System of Support is really grounded in 20 years worth of research, and it's about having a system in place in Arlington to bring the best practices to consistent across all of our schools, so that each one of our schools and programs is pulling from those best practices to look at data and really hone in to where our students' needs are and where their strengths are, to put a plan into place and respond to their needs.
It's not a specific class, so you're able to kind of pull them where it's not taking away from their instructional time or their elective time. It's kind of building it into the schedule, and it's very flexible. So kids come in and out, and we did it at Swanson for, I think it was like 4 weeks at a time. So it was a good amount of time to kind of get them and to get them to understand the concept. And it was just fluid movement back and forth.
So they're going to approach that through a problem-based decision-making model. And they're going to start with 4 questions.
What is it that we want our students to know and be able to do? How do we know that they've learned or mastered that skill? What do we do when they haven't? And what do we do when they have?
Go. What we're doing is so valuable, and it supports what my personal philosophy of teaching is, and I think all of us at Oak Ridge feel this way. It's just a more formalized way of ensuring that all of our students are learning and achieving at high levels, and they all deserve that. So now we have the backbone and the system in place, and we're really figuring out as we go how to be more effective with that so that we can really do this.
Okay. Do you want to write this down somewhere so that Ms. Hawk can see that you did it in less than 2 minutes?
So one key element in our tiered system of support is being able to use data to make instructional decisions. So we help our teachers have a process in place to create pre-assessments to determine before instruction even begins, what do our students already know and where do we need to focus instruction for what they don't know, based on that first professional learning community question of, what is it that our students know and need to be able to do. And then from there, our teachers will create a series of different types of common assessment, whether that's an exit ticket or, a short quiz, a work sample, other ways to formatively go about their instruction to see where their students have mastered that skill and who may need additional time and support to master that skill.
An assistant. And an assistant is a helper. Can you guys find the word and frame it on page 2? Assistant.
And that process happens at every single tier. So teams discuss what's going to happen in Tier 1 or core instruction, and then again for Tier 2 and again for Tier 3.
It's been a process. This hasn't something that's sort of sprung fully formed this year. We spent a lot of last year unpacking power standards, taking a look at our kids' performances, really digging deep into the data. And I think that work that we did as an entire staff last year benefited because it's now part of our culture, it's part of our expectation of how our day goes and how we work with one another as professionals. And I think we pride ourselves that we are providing really in-depth, intensive, successful interventions for kids that weren't happening in years past.
All right, so I have a question. If we're going to break them up into 2 groups, what is your thinking about the teacher in that group? Do you want to match up where, if it's your student intervention, you have them, or is it better for them to have 2 teachers they haven't had in class?
The Arlington tiered system of support is really founded on this idea of a professional learning community. And in a professional learning community, the idea is that we're all working collaboratively together, and we're also all learning as we do that process. So as we're teaching our students, as we're supporting our students, as we're administering a building, whatever our role is, we're also learning about how to do that better. We're practicing our craft, becoming better as we go. And the way that we do that in a professional learning community is in smaller teams called collaborative learning teams. And that's where an entire group of staff members who all have interaction with a student or a group of students come together to have that discussion about what they need, what they can do, how we're going to respond, how we're going to know.
Jen, can I ask you a question about the assessment that we're giving?
Please. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was wondering if we...
ATSS is really just the formalized process for how we are gathering data. With the framework of ATSS, we look at what the teachers have already taught, and we have assessments along the way, formative assessments to check for student progress, and teachers respond to that while they are teaching. And then we continue to gather data when teachers feel like they have completed teaching the standard or the skill, and they come up with some sort of a summative assessment and look at all the individual concepts and skills that students should have learned by the end of the unit or the instruction. And then once we've gathered that data, then as a grade level team, specialists included, we really break it apart and look at the individual areas where students might need extra support or where they've demonstrated mastery.
What's this one say?
6. Oh, total bar?
Yeah.
6.
6. Okay.
So as our teachers go through a cycle to analyze data, we utilize the problem-based decision model, where we identify a problem, we gather and analyze data, we determine what the needs are, we put a plan into place, we monitor progress, and then from there we adjust and make any changes. And that's really the cycle that our teachers go through at all of the levels. At Tier 2 and Tier 3, the progress monitoring will happen more frequently so that we can make more timely decisions on the supports or extensions that we're giving are making the difference for the student.
Are they achieving standards? Are they exceeding expectations, or are they at risk? And so our Arlington tiered system of support is designed to help us address needs.
We meet their needs in an academic sense and certainly in a social, emotional sense as well.
It's a cult.
What is a cult? That is a really good question. Did we read about cults a few pages back?
We want to also ensure that we are supporting them social emotionally because we're supporting the whole child here in Arlington. And so what we want to do is also have a framework in place to create an environment that is safe and engaging for our students, that creates a positive learning environment where we're building relationships with our students and making sure that they are feeling supported on both the academic side, but as well as the social emotional side.
And I want you guys to think about, so like when you get to like 2.5, right? Like right here, you guys, think about like up here is when you need more of adult help or like.
I'm the cheerleader of the school. I work with all the kids and all the staff and all the teachers, so I think about how to help everyone use their intelligence, work well together, behave collaboratively. So we have different tiers, so like a pyramid, right? Tiers of support. So tier 1, as a counselor, I do classroom lessons, I go to recess, talk to all the kids. Basically, how can I reach everyone with the different models that Campbell has? So we have the EL model, we have outdoor learning, we have counseling program. Tier 2 is how do we focus more on some of our friends who need a little more support? So small groups. So today we're going to talk about the social skills group that I did with one of our fabulous special education teachers. Tier 3 is our friends who need a tad more support than that, so more of a one-on-one individual counseling, or whether that is something that is more individualized.
So the Arlington tiered system of support as a framework can look a little bit different in each environment as it's implemented, but it always includes some key tenets. Always there's going to be a collective responsibility on the part of staff and adults in the building for every student's success. Always there's going to be some data-informed decision-making where there's really a process to collect evidence about how students are doing, analyze that, and move forward in a way that we're sure is going to work. And always there's going to be flexible instructional models, so time that allows us to adjust the schedule of a student's day or a group of students' days in order to make sure that they have the time to get the instruction that they need.
Good job. Now, how am I going to change this to make it the word hip?
This one.
Is that the beginning, the middle, or the end?
Middle.
The middle. What do I got to change it to? Huh? Hip. Hip. One more time. Huh? Hip. Hip. Good job. Way to go, guys.